Welcome back. Welcome back to a place where ordinary change can quietly change a life. Today, we are diving deep into the fascinating and mysterious world of the Sacagawea golden dollar, a coin most people ignore, a coin many spend without a second thought, and a coin that, in rare cases, is worth thousands, even millions of dollars today. At first glance, it looks simple. Golden in color. Lightweight. Modern. A coin you've probably seen in a drawer, a jar, or at the bottom of a wallet. But hidden beneath its copper-core brass-clad surface, beneath the soaring eagle on its reverse, lies a story few people know. A story of rare minting errors, forgotten varieties, and shocking discoveries that turned pocket change into fortunes overnight. These coins were minted in the United States of America, beginning in the year 2000, carrying the powerful image of Sacagawea, the Native American woman who guided Lewis and Clark through uncharted land. Her face tells a story of strength, survival, and history frozen in metal. Most Sacagawea dollars are common. Most are worn. Most are dirty, scratched, and heavily circulated. But a small handful are something else entirely. Today, we reveal the top 3 most valuable and expensive Sacagawea golden dollar coins ever discovered, including rare pieces from 2000, 2004, and even 2010, coins with P&D mint marks, coins that should never have existed the way they do. And before you spend that old dollar, before you toss it aside, stay with me, because you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Now, let's begin. Coin number 1. Welcome back. And listen closely, because what you are about to hear might change how you think about the loose change in your pocket. This is not a typical coin story. This is not about rare gold or antique silver. This is about a modern American coin you've probably seen, held, even spent, without a second thought. The 2010 Sacagawea golden dollar, plain and ordinary to most, but to a select few, a hidden treasure with the power to redefine wealth itself. At first glance, it looks simple. It feels familiar. It feels like every other dollar coin you've passed over at a checkout line, dropped into a tip jar, or tossed into a drawer and forgotten. Because it is made like most Sacagawea dollars, a copper core, brass-clad composition giving it that golden shimmer but with the heart of common metal running beneath. But beneath that familiar surface lies a mystery. A story that most people never bother to uncover. This coin was minted in the Philadelphia Mint, and that's why it carries no mint mark, no D, no S. Just a clean, unmarked crown of brass and copper. To many, that sounds ordinary. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous, so valuable, and so sought after. On the reverse side, you won't find the old eagle that millions once passed around with unnoticed. No, this coin proudly displays the great law of peace design. A design unlike anything else in modern circulating coinage. A design that symbolizes unity, the balance of nations, the wisdom of an ancient law that inspired the very idea of constitutional democracy. This image isn't just attractive, it is meaningful. It is powerful. And for collectors, it is unforgettable. Now listen. Because here is where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Most 2010 Sacagawea dollars were used. Most are dirty. Heavily circulated. Rounded edges smoothed by time. Grease, dust, and fingerprints from decades of exchange. And yet, the wear that most people see as damage, for a rare few becomes verification that the coin was actually used in everyday life, making it all the more real. All the more authentic. All the more valuable. You see, collectors do not chase perfect, untouched specimens anymore. Not always. What they hunt for are uncommon variations, odd strikes, and subtly different examples that slipped through quality control and were released into circulation by accident. And among the Sacagawea dollars of 2010, there are whispers of such coins, pieces with tiny, almost invisible differences, small irregularities that make them stand apart from the millions that were minted that year. And here is the part that sounds unreal. Some of these rare varieties, especially those with unusual striking errors, misplaced details, or unexpected surface characteristics, have been known to command values that reach into the tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands for the very rarest examples. People once laughed at the idea of an expensive Sacagawea. They said no one would pay serious money for a dollar coin. They were wrong. Because in this world, value isn't only about metal content. Not about face value. Not about how new or shiny a coin looks. Value is about story, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. The dirty, worn, heavily circulated coin that might be hiding in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or tucked away in an old jar, it might be one of the ones that slipped past inspectors, escaped into circulation, and sat unnoticed, waiting for rediscovery. Collectors around the world hang on every subtle detail. A slightly off-center strike. A difference in the way the brass clings around the copper core. Tiny pattern shifts in the lettering. An unusual surface anomaly that experienced numismatists recognize as a rare variation. And this is where ordinary change becomes something else entirely. Some believe that among the ocean of 2010 Sacagawea dollars out there, a handful exist that could be worth tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe more. And for the rarest of them? Some extreme examples whisper toward the realm of the unthinkable, coins that, if authenticated, could be valued in the $1,000,000 range. Unimaginable? Yes. Impossible? No. Because history has shown time and time again, the coins that people overlook are often the ones that become legendary. So before you spend that 2010 Sacagawea dollar, before you trade it for coffee or charity, before you pass it off as nothing more than pocket change, stop. Look closely. Clean it gently. Examine it under light. Check every surface. Every edge. Every detail. Because one golden dollar, one dirty, worn, heavily circulated coin, might be the one that changes your life overnight. The 2010 Sacagawea with no mint mark and the Great Law of Peace reverse doesn't just carry a story from America's past. It holds the potential for richness beyond imagination. A reminder that sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures hide in the most ordinary places. So don't spend that dollar like it's worth one. Because to the right person, it might be worth far, far more. Welcome back. And listen carefully, because what you are about to hear sounds absolutely wild, yet it all comes down to a single golden dollar. This is the story of a coin that most people walked past, spent on gum or soda, dropped in jars, forgotten in loose change. A coin that looks ordinary, until you realize it might be one of the most valuable pieces of American money ever created. This is the 2000 Sacagawea golden dollar with a P mint mark, Philadelphia, and on the reverse, the soaring eagle, a design that should not have been released into everyday circulation. A coin that, against all odds, still exists in worn, battered, heavily handled condition, yet it could be worth unimaginable sums today. Let me take you back to when this coin was born. The year was 2000. The new millennium had just arrived. The United States Mint introduced a new dollar coin, shiny, golden, fresh. A symbol of history, unity, and the promise of the future. On the obverse, a young Sacagawea, strong and serene, carrying her child, a figure that represented resilience and guidance. On the reverse, the soaring eagle, wings spread wide, more than a symbol, a defiant declaration of flight, ambition, and freedom. Millions of these coins were struck for circulation. Millions entered wallets, purses, and cash registers. Most were spent, forgotten, and lost to time. But then, something extraordinary happened. Some of these coins were struck in a way that wasn't quite right. Not perfect, not polished, not museum mint-state examples. But something different, subtle variations, tiny irregularities that slipped past quality control, pieces that didn't match the standard exactly, pieces that should have stayed in the vaults, in test sets, in collector packs, but didn't. Instead, they were released into circulation. And the world never knew. These coins were touched daily. Exchanged at stores. Pockets. Street vendors. Tip jars. They grew old, worn, grimy, scratched, dirty, beaten by everyday life. Yet each mark tells a story. Each scuff adds character. To the untrained eye, they look like nothing more than a spent dollar. But to those who know, they could be treasures. Because in the coin world, rarity isn't always about pristine condition. Sometimes it is about survival. How many of these odd, unusual examples still exist today after passing through millions of imperfect hands? And here is where it gets unbelievable. Collectors whisper about these specific 2000p Sacagawea coins with the soaring eagle reverse, coins that show evidence of unusual striking characteristics, variations so rare that experts believe only a handful exist. Only a handful. To most people, this is just pocket change. To a lucky few, it might be the key to unimaginable wealth. Because value in numismatics, the world of coin collecting, isn't just about metal or face value. It's about story, rarity, history, and the thrill of finding the unexpected. Imagine walking into your house, dumping a handful of old coins onto the table, and finding one that has quietly been increasing in potential value year after year, without you knowing. And now, in today's collector markets, some examples of rare Sacagawea dollars, especially those with unique characteristics, production anomalies, or limited survival rates, have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands in extreme cases. And there are rumors, whispers in collector circles, of coins so rare, so elusive, that if authenticated and verified to be true anomalies, they could approach million-dollar territory. It sounds unbelievable. It sounds like a fairy tale. Yet every treasure story has its skeptics, until the moment it isn't a story anymore. Because these coins carry not just metal and design, but time itself. They carry the marks of decades of use. They carry history in every worn groove and faded edge. People chase perfect coins. Brilliant uncirculated specimens. Mint state. Flawless. But sometimes the most valuable are the ones that survived life, dirt, wear, circulation, evidence that they truly existed among regular hands. And that is the danger. And the opportunity. Most people see a worn Sacagawea dollar. They see value of one. They see nothing worth saving. But a rare 2000p with unusual striking features, subtle variations, and the soaring eagle reverse, that coin could be more than just currency. It could be a fortune. So if you find a 2000 Sacagawea golden dollar with a P mint mark, don't be quick to spend it at face value. Don't be quick to toss it into the jar with the rest. Don't let it slip away for nothing. Examine it. Feel the weight. Look closely at the edges. The lettering. The design. The wear. You never know what you might hold. Because sometimes, the coins we overlook are the ones that change everything. A coin that once bought a candy bar could one day buy a house. A coin once forgotten in a drawer could one day rewrite a life story. A coin most people ignore could make someone, perhaps even you, immeasurably wealthy overnight. Keep your eyes open. Keep your mind sharp. And never underestimate the power of what looks ordinary. Because this golden dollar, this humble 2000p Sacagawea with the soaring eagle reverse, might be worth far more than you ever imagined. Welcome back. And listen closely, because what you're about to hear sounds like fiction, yet it is rooted in a reality most people ignore every day. This is the story of a coin that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and yet could be worth more than you ever dreamed. A coin that has the power to change a life, overnight. A coin that most people spend without thinking twice. But if you hold the right one, you might be holding something priceless. This is the 2004 Sacagawea Golden Dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, bearing the bold D Mint mark, and featuring the iconic soaring eagle reverse design, a symbol of strength, freedom, and aspiration that has graced the nation's coinage. You have probably seen this coin washed up in circulation, handed back as change at the grocery store, left in a jar on your dresser, unearthed from an old wallet. Most of these golden dollars have been touched, traded, and tossed aside, dirty, worn, heavily circulated, their edges smoothed by decades of everyday use. To most people, a 2004 Sacagawea with a Denver Mint mark is worth exactly $1, no more, no less. But to the few who know, this quiet, unassuming coin could be one of the most valuable Sacagawea dollars ever discovered. You see, value in the world of coins isn't always about metal. It isn't about shiny surfaces or perfect condition. It isn't about how new a coin looks. Real value is about history, rarity, and the unexpected story beneath the surface. The 2004 Sacagawea dollars were produced in huge numbers. Millions were minted. Millions were spent. Millions were forgotten. Yet among those millions, there are whispers of coins that are different, coins with subtle anomalies, unusual strikes, and rare production quirks that slipped through the mint's quality control and entered ordinary circulation. These aren't the polished collector pieces locked in vaults. These aren't the high-grade mint state coins under glass. These are worn. These are dirty. These are life-touched. These are the coins that survived. And for certain examples, survival is everything. Because collectors don't just chase perfection. They chase story. They chase the mysteries history accidentally created. Imagine this, a coin identical to millions of others at first glance, yet upon closer inspection, something feels different. A slight variation in the lettering. A barely noticeable shift in the design. A tiny irregularity in how the eagle's wings were struck, a subtle error in alignment, a minute tweak that doesn't belong to the standard variety. To a normal person, this is unimportant. To a dedicated collector, this could be monumental. These subtle differences transform an everyday dollar into something extraordinary. Something rare. Something with a story that no one else has. And here is the part that most people refuse to believe. Some of these rare 2004 Sacagawea dollars, even in dirty, worn, heavily circulated condition, are now fetching astonishing prices in the numismatic market. Not just hundreds. Not just thousands. Ask the collectors who have seen these variations in auction rooms. There are coins that have crossed into the tens of thousands of dollars, even more when authenticated and verified by experts. And for the rarest of these, the true once-in-a-lifetime examples? There are whispers, real whispers, that some could be worth hundreds of thousands, even approaching the unthinkable realm of millions. Yes, it sounds like a fairy tale. Yes, it sounds impossible. But anyone who has spent time in the collector world knows that today's myth is tomorrow's reality. This isn't about shining surfaces or perfect mint state grades. This isn't about untouched coins hidden in plastic tubes. This is about survival, coins that have lived, breathed, and circulated among us, that were never meant to be extraordinary, yet found themselves so because of tiny quirks in how they were made. Every scratch. Every dent. Every smudge on the surface. They are evidence that the coin has lived a life in the world, a trait that, paradoxically, makes certain rare coins even more desirable to collectors. So if you find a 2004 Sacagawea dollar with a D Mint mark in your pocket change tonight, don't rush to spend it as $1. Don't toss it into the register. Don't hand it to someone without a second glance. Take your time. Look closely. Feel the weight. Examine the edges. Because something that looks ordinary might not be ordinary at all. And maybe, just maybe, you're holding a coin that could make someone gasp with disbelief. A coin that could turn a dusty drawer into a treasure chest. A coin that could, quite literally, change your fortune overnight. And that is the magic of rare coins. The magic of history hidden in metal. The magic that turns pocket change into legend. So look again. Look deeper. Because value doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it whispers. And often, it is right under your nose.